Imagine this. You're a good man. You love with sincerity, behave with kindness, and live with a caring heart. But one day she leaves. There's no third party, no drama, just she no longer feels connected. And when you look back, the person she chose next is someone with higher status, more success, more confidence. In that moment, you don't just lose a woman. You lose your belief in your own worth. This video is not about blaming women. It's not here to add bitterness to someone already hurting. This is an invitation to look deeper. What truly drives love, choice, and rejection? From Schopenhauer's philosophy to real-life stories in America today, we're going to walk through a journey that doesn't avoid, but also doesn't judge, to understand why sometimes being a good man still isn't enough. Stay with us, because if you've ever asked, why did she leave? Then this video is for you. 1. A controversial quote and personal pain. Arthur Schopenhauer once uttered one of the most controversial quotes in Western philosophy. Women are animals with long hair and short ideas. To modern ears, it's a blatant insult reflecting a toxic misogyny. But if we look deeper, through the lens of history and personal trauma, that sentence isn't just a slur. It's the echo of a deeply wounded heart, a mind that felt replaced, not enough, and powerless before something called love. Schopenhauer wasn't just a solitary philosopher. He was a son who lived in the shadow of a famous mother, a man who went through many failed relationships, and above all, someone who always felt like the one never chosen. To him, love wasn't a connection of souls, but a biological scam, a trap in which men were always the losers. The story of Alex, a young writer living in New York, is a living proof of that feeling of being replaced. Alex loved his girlfriend with full sincerity, through the words he wrote late at night, through his constant presence and unconditional listening. But one day she met a successful businessman at a networking event. Within a few weeks she left Alex, not because he mistreated her, but because the other man had a better future. Alex broke down. He stopped writing, he couldn't sleep, and in each helpless heartbeat, he asked himself, is love even real? Or is it just a form of competition I was never equipped to win? It wasn't just sadness, it was the beginning of an identity crisis that many men today silently endure. 2. The will to live and the trap of love. In Schopenhauer's bleak philosophy, love isn't sacred, nor a magical encounter of souls. He saw it as an illusion disguised by biology, a trick of the will to live, a blind, relentless force with one goal: to reproduce. According to him, romantic love isn't a free choice, but a subtle manipulation of survival instincts. We think we love because we feel a spark, but in truth, we are driven by a deeper engine we don't recognize. To procreate, to continue life, to serve this insatiable will. Mia's story in Los Angeles reflects this harsh truth. She was a passionate young actress, stepping into the film industry, with dreams of expressing herself through art. When she met a renowned director, a man behind several award-winning films, she believed they had a special connection. They dined together, talked, shared passions. Everything began like a romantic dream. But when the movie wrapped, the connection faded. Texts became sparse, calls unanswered. Mia realized she wasn't loved, she was used. That relationship wasn't based on mutual depth or sincerity, but a silent transaction between career ambition and physical allure. Love was just a pretty cover for a biological strategy or a personal calculation. Mia no longer cried. She only felt empty. And in that moment, she understood more clearly than ever what Schopenhauer meant. Sometimes love isn't a blessing. It's a trap disguised in sweet words. 3. Hypergamy. A survival instinct. Schopenhauer saw love as a trap, but behind it, lies a powerful biological mechanism called hypergamy, the natural tendency of women to choose a partner with higher social status, financial stability, or capability. Many see it as materialistic, even selfish. But if we go back to prehistoric times, when a woman's survival and her child's depended on a man strong enough to protect and provide, we'll understand. It wasn't ambition, it was survival instinct. Sarah, a 29-year-old bank employee in Chicago, didn't live in the Stone Age, but she was still influenced by that instinct. She had been dating Ethan, a young artist with a sensitive heart and a creative soul. Ethan loved her sincerely, expressed through his hand-painted artwork. But amid the poorly attended exhibitions and unpaid bills, Sarah began to worry. Not because Ethan didn't love her, but because he couldn't build a stable home. One day, at an investment seminar hosted by her bank, Sarah met Jonathan, a successful businessman, polished, confident. Life with him was filled with fine dinners, solid promises, and clear plans for the future. Just a few months later, Sarah left Ethan. She didn't regret it, but she wasn't at peace either. Deep down, she knew she didn't leave love. She left insecurity. And even if she never read Schopenhauer, she had lived exactly what he described. Love is not always driven by pure emotion, but by evolutionary selection, sometimes cold but always wired for survival. 4. The quiet resentment of men. Not every man knows how to name his pain. Society teaches them to be strong, to suppress, to get over it, as if emotion is a sign of weakness. But here's what few dare to say. Pain, when repressed long enough, turns into resentment, a quiet, creeping bitterness that eats away at the soul like acid. Mark, a mechanical engineer in Houston, was the ideal husband. Hardworking, loyal, no drinking, no gambling, no abuse. He and his wife had been together for over 10 years, with a son and a peaceful suburban home. To their friends, they were the perfect couple. But one day, she packed her things, left a note, and walked away. No affair, no drama. Just, "I don't feel anything anymore." Mark didn't cry. He didn't confide in anyone. He quietly reset the dining table, tidied the bedroom, and went back to work as if nothing had happened. But behind his calm gaze and steady tone was a void he couldn't fill. He began avoiding women. He avoided even deep conversations. When someone brought up love, he just scoffed. "Love? That's movie stuff." Over time, Mark became a shadow, present but not alive. He didn't hate his ex-wife, but he no longer believed he deserved love. And that silence, that slow slide into isolation, was exactly what Schopenhauer once warned. Resentment doesn't explode. It quietly kills a man's capacity to love. 5. Personal experience shapes philosophy. Philosophy isn't always the product of pure reason. Sometimes it's the echo of unhealed wounds. Schopenhauer didn't just write with logic. He wrote with loneliness, with broken relationships, with the feeling of being sidelined in both love and life. He didn't simply hate women, he feared being hurt by them. And from that fear, he built a system of thought like a wall of defense, so no one could ever wound him again. The story of Linda, a psychologist in San Francisco, is a modern example of how personal pain shapes worldviews. Linda was intelligent, well-educated, trusted by many. Yet in her private life, she kept men at a distance, often questioning their intentions, seeing their actions through a cynical lens. They're only nice because they want something. It wasn't until a group therapy session, where she attended not as a facilitator, but as a participant, that she was invited to revisit her childhood. And then, like a wave crashing through memory, she broke down in tears, remembering her cold, irritable father, a man who never once hugged her. She realized she didn't hate men. She just never believed a man could stay, could be gentle, could love without conditions. From that moment, the healing began. Linda didn't rush to change her worldview. She simply started to look back at what had once hurt her and understood. Not everything she believed was truth. Some were just memories distorted by fear. That's the lesson Schopenhauer never had the chance to learn. But we do. 6. Modern culture and the suppression of male emotions. In modern society, men are taught that expressing emotions is a sign of weakness. Men don't cry. Be strong and move on. Don't make a scene over a woman. These messages are not only heard from parents and teachers, but also woven into movies, music, and social media. As a result, many men, when hurt, cannot find a healthy outlet for release. They choose silence, and that silence, over time, turns into quiet rage. Tom, an IT employee living in Seattle, used to be the ideal boyfriend. Thoughtful, non-controlling, a great listener. But then his girlfriend left him, with no explanation, just, "I don't feel the connection anymore." At first, Tom tried to understand. He read books, watched psychology videos, told himself it would pass. But the more he tried to rationalize it, the emptier he felt. One day, he found an online forum for men who had been betrayed. At first, it was a lifeline. Hearing similar stories made him feel less alone. But gradually, the tone of the forum turned toxic. Sarcastic remarks about women, angry comments, extreme theories about female nature. Tom didn't fully agree with them, but he stayed. Because at least there, he was heard and understood, something he never had in real life. But day by day, he became less trusting, less gentle, as if that community didn't help him heal, but hardened his wounds instead. The truth is, when a culture doesn't allow men to be soft, they will seek places where they are allowed to be angry. And the danger is, anger without healing always spreads. 7. Understanding hypergamy correctly. When a man is left, especially replaced by someone better off, the first feeling is often bitterness. He may feel betrayed, may see love as a cold transaction. But if we look deeper, beyond the emotional wound, we'll see that what drives her choice isn't always greed, but a primal instinct. Hypergamy. Hypergamy is not selfishness. It's a survival mechanism deeply embedded in the unconscious system of women through thousands of years of evolution. In the past, choosing the wrong partner, a man who couldn't protect or provide, meant possible death for the woman and her child. So her instincts were programmed to seek someone stronger, more stable, more reliable. James, a graphic designer in Denver, experienced something similar. His girlfriend Anna broke up with him after 3 years of dating when she started thinking seriously about marriage. She wasn't angry, she didn't cheat. She just said, "I need a more stable life." At first, James broke down. He felt he wasn't good enough, not worthy of love. But instead of drowning in resentment, he faced reality. He realized it wasn't that Anna had changed, it was life asking him to grow up. He started learning new skills, took on harder projects, expanded his knowledge, and rebuilt his purpose. A few years later, James wasn't just more successful, he was a stronger man. And when he thought back on Anna, he didn't blame her. He thanked her, because that breakup awakened in him a stronger version of himself that without pain, he might never have become. 8. From a good man to a desired man. There's a paradox that many kind, faithful men face. They are loved, respected, but not desired. And when the relationship ends, they are often left asking, "What did I do wrong? Why wasn't I enough?" The answer, though hard to hear, is true. Kindness doesn't automatically equal attraction. David, a high school teacher in Miami, loved his job, loved kids, and loved his girlfriend with all the gentleness of a man who lives for others. He cooked, picked her up, always listened. But one day she left. No fights, no betrayal. Just she no longer felt drawn to him. That pain sent David into a state of confusion. He questioned, does being good even matter? But instead of becoming bitter, he looked deeper into himself. He realized he lived well but not fully. He was kind but lacked direction. He was present but lacked fire, that inner drive that makes a man shine in a woman's eyes. So David began a new journey. He enrolled in a photography class, something he had loved but put aside because he was too busy. He joined workshops, went on weekend trips, learned to open up not to please anyone, but to live more completely. And then he didn't just become a good man, he became an alive man, a man with stories, with purpose, with energy that made others want to be in his world. Because in the end, women don't only seek safety. They are drawn to a man who wakes up every morning with a reason to live and doesn't need permission to live fully. 9. Turning pain into growth. Pain, if left untreated, becomes a dull scar that numbs the soul. But if transformed, it can become fuel for growth. Instead of falling into resentment or emotional revenge, a man can choose a different path, self-development, step by step, not to win someone back, but to rediscover himself. Learn something new, train your body, redefine your values, set goals, not for admiration, but because deep down you know you were born to become something greater than your past wounds. And then, attraction is no longer something you chase. It comes on its own, like light finding a flame that burns steadily. Because nothing is more magnetic than a man walking steadily on the path to becoming whole. Conclusion. Sometimes you're not left because you're bad. You're left because you haven't yet become the best version of yourself. She didn't leave to hurt you, but because her instinct sought something stronger, not necessarily richer, but clearer in purpose and direction. So instead of blaming or trying to prove your worth to someone who left, turn inward. Rebuild from the roots. Sharpen your mind, your body, your spirit, not to win her back, but so you'll never fear losing anyone again. Because when you truly know who you are and stand firm on your own 2 feet, you no longer need anyone to stay for you to feel complete. At that point, you're not just attractive, you are irreplaceable.